Debbie. You know my guys is never short. It's time to sit down and let the Degens cook. That's right. You know they coming through and getting heavy. It's time to talk some Dynasty and talk some Debbie. My guys is never short. Time to sit down and let the Degens cook. Ow!
Hello, welcome to Dynasty Degens, episode 23. I am Nerdboy Takes, and as always, I am joined by my buddy Jagger at Fantasy Blue Chip. Jagger, how you doing tonight, brother?
Oh, living the dream. Living and breathing football. So,
yeah, you've been doing a lot. So Jagger has been doing another fantasy show for us, which is a redraft-based show every Sunday at 9 a.m. So it's very early hours for him, and he is doing a lot of stuff for the football guys and all the video editing and whatnot. So I think, he's just tired, man. He's a tired guy. But tonight we are talking college QBs. It's fun to look at right now, almost a quarter of the way through, and we see where these guys rise, where they fall, the shift. And overall rankings is always fun to revisit because this is always a forever changing and shifting thing that is just, like we said, it's just fun to change priors and get into why we're doing it and what we see differently year to year. So tonight we have a great guest to do that with. He is doing a lot of content for football guys, and he is a mainstay at Devi Royale. If you're not involved in that Discord, that Patreon, it is a great thing to get into. We've had every guy within Devi Royale on the show. Christian is actually the last one, and we are hyped to get the whole unit on the show at some point in time. So our guest tonight is Christian Williams at C Williams NFL. I can get this to move. We're going here. Oh yeah, that's great. I like that. How my mouse died the second I actually tried to move toward getting you. So a little malfunction. That's what video editing is for.
Hey.
What's up, man? How you doing tonight?
Good. So quickly, Jagger is doing the best work over at Football Guys. The videos, I think they go on. I don't know if they're going on the TikTok, if they're just YouTube shorts. I don't know what they are. He made one from our Dynasty show last week where I was talking about CJ Stroud. I sat there and laughed at it for a solid 10 minutes. I just kept watching it over and over. Not that I like watching myself, but I said something stupid and Jagger put in, I said something like, I don't want to give out takes. And Jagger put in a clip from The Office that said, too late. And I was rolling. It was so good. So, great work, Jagger.
Thanks, man.
Jagger's videos are probably the best out there. Everyone is always people DM me about them, and they're like, "Hey, who's this guy pulling videos right there? Like, who do you post?" And I'm like, "Come on, man! Like, you don't know Fantasy Blue Chip? You don't know my guy Jagger?"
I guess I tell everyone I'm like A24 right now. Like, eventually people will come around to it. And
all about it.
You have high exposure and you're everywhere, man. So I think it's only a matter of time until you're on that rocket ship. But before we get into college QBs, I figured we can kind of talk to Christian about how he got started in the space and what kind of got you into content creation in general.
Yeah. So I just started podcasting. I moved away and I needed an outlet to kind of talk with my buddies. We talked football every day anyway, so just decided to start up a podcast. It was called The Cut back in the day. Got into it that way and then just started meeting people. On social media, Twitter specifically, it was a good outlet. Started meeting people. Did that for I think a couple years, 2 years before Jeff Bell reached out and said, "Hey, we want to do this thing, or I want to do this thing. I want to have a college show. You put NFL draft takes out there. I think you'd be great for it. I know this guy named Kevin Coleman. He's kind of a jerk, but we'll see if you guys match." He didn't really say that. But we met blind, did a show together, and now, we kind of do everything together. We own a business together in the Debbie Royale, and we're the Dynasty show on Football Guys. And so it's kind of, it's weird how life works, but it was certainly, and I only knew Jeff because I, had a few conversations with him about probably the Bills or something like that. But just decided one day to do it. And then, now I do it all the time. This is show number 2 for the night, but video chat number 3 for the night. So we're in it. And I was just with those guys for like 2 hours. So it's great.
Yeah, I've had all those guys on. When I had Jay Stein on, I don't know if you heard that show, but we tried to do MFK between you, Jeff, and
I did. I watched
Kevin.
this.
And I was trying to get him to answer exactly where he would stand with that, but he would not, because Jay Stein is the nicest guy I've ever met my entire life. So
ever. Agreed.
Yeah. Anywhere I've gone, I think I can always look at Jay Stein as being the nicest guy ever. So I don't think I've met a person that's as nice as him.
100%.
But a question that we always ask everybody, I know we talked a little bit backstage about this, your favorite TV show, and then the character from that show that you think would make the best fantasy manager.
So I asked you the question, is this favorite of all time or favorite right now? I struggle with favorites in general, but I am currently watching Game of Thrones for the first time. I never watched it when it was out. I watched House of the Dragon and I was like, hey, this is pretty cool. Maybe that Game of Thrones show is worth checking out. And so I'm just finished season 5. So I'd call that my favorite right now, because the end of season 5 was gnarly and I'm pretty amped. I know some of the stuff that happens. The character that would make the best fantasy manager, I think, Littlefinger, because he manipulates people really well. And he would be a force trading with other managers. So I wanted to say Tyrion because he survives, but I think that he would just be really good in the survivor league, a survivor pool. But Littlefinger would be the manipulator that somehow wins the league, even though you don't like that person sometimes. And I don't really like him all that much, but that's okay.
He would sell so many shares of Kyron Williams. He'd be like, I got 2 firsts for Kyron, like just.
Yep.
Yeah, we've done this show. I think, were you here, Jagger, when we talked Game of Thrones before? I think you were probably here.
Probably.
Yeah.
JC's talking a lot of nerdy stuff.
JC's been on hiatus for a while, so I don't remember if it was you or JC. But yeah, I think you can go, and this is like what is great about Game of Thrones is you can go into any character and you can make a case for any of them being a good fantasy football manager. Like,
except
I was
Stark.
Yeah. Well, that was short lived, and we didn't even know there was no character development there. It was just like, hey, this is Ned. He's loved. He's dead. I feel like the Hound would make a good fantasy manager, because he's just like, he grows on you. Like he's somebody that you dislike wholeheartedly at the beginning, and then you're like, okay, there's more to this person. Okay, he's like somebody that you eventually grow to love. And I think that is a good quality to have as a fantasy manager, because I probably rub people the wrong way initially, and then I give them the trust, and then I take all their assets. But
I like that.
He wouldn't overthink things. He'd be like, I'm gonna draft Brandon Ayuk ahead of everyone, and everyone's like, but what about snap count and pass volume? We're like, fuck pass volume. Just like,
I think you've been describing yourself in the past 5 minutes regarding Kieran Williams and then also Brandon Ayuk. That's like you in a nutshell. Who would you take, Jagger, from the show as a character? Like who would you want to have manage your team?
He nailed it. Like my top 2 choices would be Littlefinger or Tyrion. Littlefinger gets the edge because he's cool the whole time. Because like I am a Tyrion, and we have the exact same thing. Where like I'm smart as hell, but you get me mad and I'll run my mouth and it's game over. Like it's game over. Like I have been burned so many times because of my mouth. And then he'd be the guy who would be bragging, talking all kinds of shit in the group chat, and then people are just sniping him because he's just running his mouth the whole time. So, that's what I think about Tyrion. He's going to be always the bridesmaid, never the bride. So
Wah, wah. All right, so we are going to get into it. I know that this was I wasn't even going with this show at all. Like I had a whole different show sheet planned for you, and then you dropped your updated rankings in the Discord, and I felt like I had to go this way. I had to get into this. You had some spice. We won't go with spice right now. I think we're going to go with basically how you have them ranked. We'll start at the top and then kind of glide down to, we don't have to go deep. I say like top 5-ish, and then we'll kind of get into the next topic if, time allows us to. But first, I think is little debate. We're not really going to have a lot of discussion about it. It is Caleb Williams for everybody, hands down.
Yes.
What I think is fun, we don't have to go into the tape, or we don't have to talk about what we love about Caleb Williams because that's everywhere. Who are we going to take Caleb Williams over in the NFL? So like now moving forward, I think he would be like in the QB 7-8 range, give or take, for most people. But I think it's fun to hear the names that where's the standing point that you have Caleb at? Like there's Mahomes, Josh Allen, Hurts, Justin Herbert, and then we're talking Caleb is going
so that's close to the line right there, man.
Yeah.
So right now, and I did my update on the 22nd of September. So week and a half ago, 2 weeks, I'm considering putting Caleb above Joe Burrow. You look at, we're also looking at a Joe Burrow that can't move, which is impactful to, fantasy performance. But then you look at Caleb, who certainly can move, and that's, impactful for fantasy points. I think you can make a case now for Anthony Richardson to be above Joe Burrow too. I'm not doing it yet. He said we're not starting with spice. Here I come. Just to drop in the spice. I have Caleb Williams right now at QB 6 in Dynasty. So I am ahead of Anthony Richardson, Trevor Lawrence, Tua, Stroud, Lamar, Fields, sadly. But yeah, that's the most bullish I've been on a single prospect ever since I've been evaluating prospects. I there's a lot of talk about what he can and can't do. And then I don't know. So I follow Bears stuff a lot. And obviously the Bears have the number 1 overall pick right now. They asked Brian Baldinger today or yesterday, one of the podcasts asked, like, would you take Caleb? And he said when he was 17, he would have been the best player at the combine. He was breaking down film, calling out protections in high school as a 17-year-old. And then you see some people, they're like, oh, Caleb can't read the field. He can't do this. Yes, he can. I promise. He's as surefire as they've ever come, I think.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk of his play not being transferable to the NFL as far as like certain plays, and they're not NFL plays is a really popular thing to say about Caleb Williams. But realistically, he has all these skills. He has all these talents. Yes, he's going to do plays that aren't going to translate to NFL, but he's not going to need to do those plays. Like that's just him having fun out there. Realistically, like he is bored with the game out there. You can see it. Like he is so good that like it's easy for him. And he's making things look difficult and different because he can. And I think that's really what people are missing, that like the game is coming easy to him and he can be flexible with that. And he can do things that, yeah, maybe he understands he's not going to be able to do in the NFL, but like he's not going to need to because he has crazy skills otherwise everywhere else that he's not going to need to do those things to be successful. I did see that video. I agree with that. I do love Fields. I know Jagger likes Fields a lot, or did at some point in time. We had
I like him, but
yeah. So Bears have to take him. And I think Justin Fields still is somewhere doing something. I don't think he just becomes obsolete if that's the case. I don't think the Bears hold that pick. I personally, I think they're going to still win out a few games. And I think there's chance that they might miss on that. But it would be very Bears for them to end up, winning out some games there. But
I mean, like to me, they owe it to Justin Fields to at least put out a competent offense every week, just so one, he can retain some trade value, but at the same time, I don't think you can suck too hard for Chicago. I don't know, man. Chicago's just kind of like they're used to sucking just around the board. Like I even think, are the Chicago Sky any good? I don't know, but essentially, it's pretty bleak there. So like to me, I don't see why they don't trade Justin Fields right now. I'd call Atlanta. I'd call someone, ship him off right now. Just tell Matt Eberflus, have fun during your lame duck season. I would fire Luke Getsy just to be spiteful and even though he's going to be gone, and let some interim get some burn or something like that. That's what I would do if I was Chicago. It's bad. I think everyone is sour there, and it'd be best for everyone to break up.
Yeah. I have a lot of thoughts on that topic, so I don't want to get into it.
I know we're gonna go way off the rails right now. It's gonna be like wild card season. Where I agree that I think they probably want Fields to play more of his game moving forward, just so that they can push that narrative where they might be able to trade him mid-season. If they keep taking L's, and I feel like they had their opportunity. They had that opportunity to move him pretty high. Like they could have either, now they're going half price. So whatever. Let's move it on to our QB2, which I think is going to vary. And I think this is where, actually, it might not actually at this point in time. But Christian, why don't you tell everybody who you have as your QB2 in the campus side?
Drew Aller. This is my QB2.
Oh, okay.
So coming into the season, I had him 3. I also am looking at the rankings that I updated, and I'm not confident that these are actually my the rankings that I'm going to spew on this show right now. So Drew Aller is definitely my 2, though. 2025 first overall pick, in my opinion. Everything that he's done has been so good. He's great under pressure. He's got arm talent. He's not close to Caleb, but I want to be clear that I don't think we're going to see many quarterbacks that are close to Caleb ever. But I do think that he has surpassed Drake May. I think he has surpassed my actual QB2 that isn't reflected in my rankings. So that's kind of where I'm at on Aller.
And when you say your actual QB2, you talking about Jackson Dart, or are you
no.
Okay.
Not quite there. I am talking about JJ McCarthy. My QB2 in the 2024 class right now is JJ McCarthy.
You're already there with them. I'm going to be honest, like, it's the day job. It's cool doing radio, but like, I'm just consumed by Colorado State University, which is not fun. It's not a fun place to be, but like, so like I miss like most of like the good football during the day, but like what I've seen of JJ McCarthy, like I was just like, wow, he looks like an NFL quarterback. I don't know what this is this year or not, but like he looks really, really good, like, and I know, like, again, your guy could talk about this with, and it's nice that, I get to talk about this and not so much talking about just numbers and stats, but you hear words about like, he looks confident in the topic. And some people are like, well, how do you quantify that? And I'm like, have you seen someone unconfident in the pocket? Shout out to Justin Fields, like right. It's one of those things that, like when you see it, and then, and that's something that I'm seeing with like in McCarthy in the one game that I did see of him. It was definitely eye popping,
Yeah. I mean, I'm about to do so I haven't done a film breakdown for him yet this year. And I keep saying, "Oh, I'm going to do these quarterbacks and, I'm going to break down I broke down Jackson Dart last week and I do love Jackson Dart. We'll have a conversation about him here in a little bit, I think, but to me, JJ has done enough to where I have no idea why consensus isn't higher on McCarthy. I think they'll get there. I think it's going to be one of those like, oh, here comes JJ, a late push towards the top 10. But I think he's already there. I mean, the one reservation I have with saying that is I think JJ could go back to school and challenge Aller for being the QB1 in 2025. And Shadur Sanders is in that conversation too, I think, which would make the 2025 class really good. But I think JJ, if he comes out this year, he looks like a top 10 pick to me right now.
So I guess, and I'll give Mike the wheel after this question. Is it that Drake May has gotten worse, or is it JJ McCarthy has gotten better? Because again, like a lot of mine, I'm going off a little bit last season priors, and like this, like the stuff I have seen is like Shadur Sanders has improved a lot. Specifically, his ball placement has been incredibly good. Like the only thing that I would like to see more from him is a little bit more zip on the ball. And that'd be the one thing I'd work on with him, but I digress. So is it that you think Drake May's gotten worse or regressed, or is JJ McCarthy just taking that leap ahead? And then we're seeing Drake May kind of go through the Sam Howell treatment.
So a little bit of both. I think JJ has been remarkable this year, and I don't think he was remarkable all of last year. I think he's more consistent. I think he's more confident in the offense. I think that offense evolved as well. I think the thing that I am just the reason I'm so confident in JJ is they're doing NFL stuff in Michigan. They're running 13 personnel. They're putting JJ under center and doing some play action stuff, like stuff you see in the NFL that translates. Drake May is a shotgun, often an RPO type of guy, not as much as Caleb, ironically. But Drake May he's sitting in shotgun and he's scanning the field and he's not making his own checks. JJ's making his own checks in Michigan. I think that's significant too. But to me, and just getting more all 22 film, May has some slow eyes post snap. He is as perfect as they come pre-snap. He knows where the ball needs to go. But if there's a disguised defense, I think Drake can kind of be slow getting through his reads. Whereas JJ is boom, 1, 2, 3, I'm hitting my backside dig, or 1, 2, it's open, I'm throwing. Now, level of competition has certainly been a little bit different as well. Drake looked good against South Carolina, an SEC program, but not a good SEC program. And then he didn't look good when he had to go put the game away. Turnovers have been a big issue for Drake. And I think JJ, for the most part, is taking care of the ball outside of the one Bowling Green game where he was terrible. But I think there's something to, they're right in that same tier to where, like, I know everyone's still going to have Drake May as their QB2, but I think JJ is going to make this push here soon.
Nice. Yeah. And for me, for Drake May, I actually intentionally tried not to scout him because when I was at DFF, I was like the only one who had any interest in putting out like a scouting guide. So like I went through like every player solo through film. So I was like, it's kind of like you're out with a girlfriend and you're like, don't get distracted by titties, because I was like, Josh Downs is the one that we need to look at, but like Drake May would, like, you would talk about a live arm. Some of the placement that he would do was really nice. So that's definitely something I want to go back and look at. And now I'll move JJ McCarthy on my list. Cause like basically you, Kevin, and Jeff make the list for me, and then I have my own guys, and then I go through there, and then I kind of rank them myself, because during the season, I don't have as much time to consume the college content that I want, So, like, I'll definitely put them on the list, and so
cool.
Yeah, we're closer than I thought. I actually thought that you were going JJ straight up, and I'm pretty close, if I'm not already there, to putting Aller at 2. I think we were talking a few pods ago about this and how close he was, how I wanted to see a little bit more and I wanted to see how he processes things a little bit better because I didn't have a lot to go off of. Obviously, he is coming into a situation that is very stressful. I wanted to see how he went game 3, game 4. And I think I really am falling in love with what I see. I did trade. So I did a trade with, I did AJB. No, yeah. So I did AJB and Quinn Ewers for Aller and Waddle. And I had to do it because I was like, yeah, I know it's spicy, but I saw what I saw from Aller and I was like, okay, this is it. I'm going because I had yours up there basically because I didn't really have much to go off of, like as far as, like what am I going to do? Throw Dante Moore up there? Or it was like by default, I had him as my 3. But this year is really given some clarity. And I do love what I've seen from JJ. I like you said, his progressions, the way he's going. I think it is a combination of what I don't like from Drake May and what I like from JJ. So it's like I don't know. I don't know if like one is falling out of favor and one's coming in because of the distaste that I have, or I think it's a combination. I hope that it is because I've done this before where I've slid guys down and then slid them back up. And I did this with Richardson all year last year. I don't know if you felt that, but he was up and down all year long. And I was just like, I don't know what to do with him. I felt like he was a high sell at one point in time. And then I regretted that. And then I tried to buy him back and it was just a mess, but.
And it's like college is like, it gets murkier and murkier because there's so many reasons why you shouldn't have liked Richardson, but there was also 10 million more why you do like him. And one thing that you really hit on, Christian, and Mike, one reason why when I can sit on the show, I will, because this is like the once a week I can actually talk about real football shit because I don't have time to do that on Dynasty Hour because I have like a quick hour to get through. And anyway, it's really nice. But like you said about running like professional, like pro level offense, and what I try to explain the difference to people against like a college air raid. And I'm talking about like that Josh like Heupel shit in Tennessee, like that air raid. And then what's something like a little bit more like the Andy Reid air raid that we see now, like there's a difference. And then I know this isn't about like I know we're talking about college now, but one thing that hit me in the season is Kenny Pickett. I thought he looked really good in the preseason. And then the first game of the season, I saw that the center is still calling checks and calling the mic. And I'm like, oh God, he fooled me again, So it's
I was there too.
anyone who, anyone who's listening, like those are the things that you should look at. And that's why like you shouldn't helmet scout, but you should a little bit helmet scout because like it's kind of telling of what they're capable of and what they're asked to do as prospects.
Yeah.
The
competition they're playing, where they're coming from, it is, especially in college, a little more like I'm not going to do it so much in the NFL side, but it's very important to, who they're learning from and who they're under is all meaningful. Regardless of whether you want to call it helmet scouting or not, those, if they're pumping out the talent that they're pumping out year after year, I think you have to really take that into consideration. Sorry, I think I cut you off, Christian.
No, you're good. So you put out the promo for this episode, and I saw Kevin came in with a question like, "What do you look for when you're scouting quarterbacks?" And this is derailing from our conversation. I know. I'm sorry. So the interesting thing is that's changed a lot over the last couple of years, specifically because of how like the Brock Purdy's of the world, the Tua Tagovailoas of the world, that like those aren't elite athletes. Those are smart football players. I'm still not convinced that Brock Purdy's a great quarterback. I think he's a good quarterback in a great system. But what makes him a good quarterback in that system is the ability to make decisions quickly, the ability to get the ball out of his hand when he sees something is open. And that's something, it's kind of the opposite of what Caleb is doing at USC, but that's the line you have to teeter, right? Like Caleb also does things where he gets the ball out of his hand really quickly when he's not bored. Like you said, I think he's always bored out there. But like JJ, to me, they ran. I'm doing the video soon. They ran a 4 verts, but they went 5 wide with a drag route underneath, and it was man coverage. And the drag route, it was off coverage. JJ saw that pre-snap, boom, got it to the drag route. They got 10 yards. It was in a hurry-up situation. They got a first down. He got out of bounds. Perfect play. Some quarterbacks in college would try to take one of those 4 verts because it's still single coverage, and he sees that maybe one of those guys can win. But the upstairs stuff is what I'm looking for now, more than anything. I've always looked at processing and anticipation and things like that, but now more than ever, I think that that's what makes you successful early. And if you're not successful early in the NFL, I don't think you get many chances. I think people are very quick to write people off. So yeah, I just wanted to bring that up because I think that that's an important thing too. You'll see like Michael Penix is an example of the opposite, where it's like that scheme is helping him a lot. And I really
College
like
air raid.
Yes, exactly. And so I think Michael Penix could potentially be really good because, he could be a high level processor, but we don't know. And I don't know if the NFL is going to draft him highly because we don't know. So it's interesting. Quarterback evaluation is hard.
Yeah, it's the hardest thing, and there's a lot of Devy guys that don't do this. They don't even bother talking quarterbacks because it can come back and look so bad on you. And I think people have just been tired of having those awful takes that they're like, I'm done. Like eventually you just you just like somebody that you're in on for 3 years, then all of a sudden is obsolete, and you're like, I'm done. Somebody breaks you eventually. It's like. Take a step away from the whole thing. And you're like, I'm done with quarterbacks. But I think it's fun. And let's try to dive into QB3. You threw me for a loop. I thought you were going JJ immediately for QB2. So I'm very curious to see who you have. So you went, let me kind of clarify this. You went Aller and then JJ?
Yes. So Caleb,
Yeah,
Aller, JJ is my 3. And I realized
right, so
as I was doing it that
okay.
my rankings didn't reflect that. So I fixed it.
Yeah, sometimes that's how it goes. I'm always backtracking because I have rankings in 5 different places, and I'm like, shit, is that the same as this one? Do I have? Why is this guy higher than this guy over here? So let's go to QB4. Who do you have right after JJ?
Drake May. So I still have May up there. I think when you talk about, projecting to the NFL, the buzz around May is still there. And I think that it rightfully so. As high as I am on JJ, it doesn't mean I'm low on May. I think that Drake is still doing some really good things. I think he can, stand in the pocket, deliver under pressure. I think that there are some translatable things that he's doing. And like I said, really good pre-snap. I'd like to see some quicker eyes post-snap, but even then, it's kind of the Justin Herbert effect where he can be late because he can fire the ball in there. And even if it's late, it's got a chance to make it in there. Not every quarterback can do that. I'm thinking of like a Bryce Young. But Drake May has the physical tools that can kind of make up for maybe the mental tools that aren't quite there yet. But still QB4, still think he's going to be a top 5 pick, probably.
You there, Mike? Oh,
nope.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Good thing I could take over. What's messed up is like the entire time I was like, don't interrupt, because I had like 10 things to say, and then like now it's on me. But I remember what I was going to say. What you hit on about Justin Herbert, that's exactly the same things that I saw, and to kind of piggyback on what you talk about on like what makes a good NFL quarterback, there's only been like one Chad Pennington. So like the number one thing is like, and I know it's very like Bill Parcells and an old school is like, can they throw a 14-yard out? Can they do that? Can they push the ball downfield consistently? And like you said, like some quarterbacks, like Mac Jones has to be on time. He has to be on time. Like, can he make a deep throw? Yes, but he can't bail himself out with an ungodly cannon on there. And, like I'm a Patriots fan. I know the limitations of Mac Jones better than anybody, like I know his interception he threw. I was just like, damn it. I think he's not the guy. Cause like as soon as
the out route to the right, is that the one you're talking about?
Oh my God. Yeah.
The one that had like a Peyton Manning final season zip on it. It's rough.
Yeah, exactly. He did it one time and he's just like, oh, and I'm like, bro, you got lucky. And then he threw that ducko and again, you have good eyes, Christian. So I was like, I saw him make the decision before it happened. I was just like, jazz hands. I was like, don't do it, Mac. Don't do it. And then he threw it and like
he did it.
Yeah, where it wasn't even framed, I knew a defender was just going to come out of nowhere because there's like no way they're going to let him get away with that twice because he doesn't have that arm. And then like Anthony Richardson has made me really focus on pocket awareness, and the same thing with Justin Fields. Like I talked a little bit about this with Matt Waldman, that this past rookie class is the first time I've actually written down and had like an actual process to scouting of like, what am I actually looking at? What am I going over about what makes a good quarterback and what causes a lot of problems? And then like, again, what is transferable in today's NFL? Cause like, again, like you hit on a good point, like used to the Bill Parcells method was that you had to have thrown 1,005 passes. I don't know the number, but it's a lot. You basically had to be a senior. You basically had to stand in the statue, be 6'5", so you can see over the offensive line. Like some kind of like, when you think about it, some really arbitrary shit. And you wonder like how much Bill Parcells like slowed down the game of football with some of the choices that he made. So but that's always interesting to hear. Another thing that like when you talk about the processing and slow eyes, that's another thing that I tell people why all 22 film is like kind of it's gold. There's a reason why no one can find it half the time because it'll tell you. And I'm telling, like, it's easy to watch a broadcast view and see someone making a bad choice, but sometimes that choice isn't their fault, or various amount of things. So while Mike's figuring it out, who is going back to Drake May, you still have him ahead. JJ McCarthy, like, I know we hate comps. I hate comps to an extent, because like when people abuse the shit out of them, or they get mad at you for giving a realistic comp. I told someone that Michael Wilson, his floor is Van Jefferson, his ceiling is Michael Floyd when he was good. And someone was just like, well, that's a shitty comp. And I'm like, Michael Floyd was good for like 2 solid seasons. And I see kind of the same player, and they like get mad at you because you didn't pick a Hall of Famer. So like, what do you see? What did you see with JJ McCarthy as like a quarterback, or what he can be?
Oh man. So here's the thing. Comps are Jeff's thing. Jeff rocks at comps. To me, I always find it difficult because like Caleb's comp for me is easy. Caleb's comp is Patrick Mahomes, and I don't care. Yeah, I don't care. That's who he plays like. His play style is exactly the same. I don't care about that. Drake May, I think there is some Justin Herbert. I think he's got the movement skills. Like that one's kind of easy too. JJ, the comp that I've been rolling with since high school for him, Matthew Stafford. It's not all there yet. I want to be clear. Like, I think JJ has really, really good arm talent and good arm strength. There's one throw that I'm going to highlight where he gets pressure up the middle, and he does one of the Stafford just flick it to the side, gets it out, and it's a 10-yard out. And that's the type of play that you're like, that kid has it. He can get out of pressure. He can, find solutions to problems. it's not all there yet, but I think the ceiling is still Stafford. Like I still see some of that. I think it might be more athletic Stafford though, because you see JJ pulling the ball down, I think on the 28, 29 yard line and just zipping past the defense with his legs too. So I know that is kind of like a Hall of Famer comp, but like it's there. The play style's there. Now I don't know if the fantasy ceiling, I don't know if JJ McCarthy could throw the ball a million times to Puka Nakua, but I know that, maybe in year 13 or whatever Stafford's in, he could. Year 15, I don't know.
I like jumping in here. So I've had some technical difficulties. I don't know what's going on, man. I think it's a late night that my computer can't handle. It's like, it's past my bedtime. So it's like, I don't want to work for you. Sorry, I lost you guys for a little while, but I got the gist of it. So you guys are on QB4. You're just kind of recapping a little bit why you have JJ and who you're kind of comping these guys to. Nice. Why don't we jump into 5? Like the last one we'll go over as far as your rankings. Then we'll what I want to do is talk a little bit about the guys that are like 5th years, like, people like Bo Nix and Jordan Travis and kind of see where you kind of have them stacked up coming out. But let's go over this last guy for you and then we'll jump over there.
So my QB5 now is Dante Moore. And so Jackson Arnold was my QB1 of the 2026 class. But, and it's not something that I maybe said at one time, freshman rankings are tough, but I do put grades on these kids. Jackson Arnold and Dante Moore were tied for me. And then what Dante Moore did, in his first career start, I was like, okay, yeah, sure. He can get the bump because I know Jackson Arnold also went like 11 for 11 or something in his first appearance. But Dante Moore to me is one of those guys that has all the intangibles. He's got the eyes already as a freshman. He's making checks. He's calling in. He sent a running back out wide. They showed blitz. He brought him back into the backfield, and that stuff gets me amped because that's a true freshman quarterback commanding control of that UCLA offense that isn't really schemed up that well. So Dante Moore to me throws with anticipation, has all the arm talent, good athlete. He's tall, Bryce Young. I do have a comp for that. He's tall, Bryce Young with better arm talent.
Wow, that's a great comp because that's I'm really starting to like you're really starting to see the limitations of Bryce Young and not even really size. It's, again, we keep coming back to arm talent, man. Like Chad Pennington is a 1 in a million, and people forget that he's not even that good. Like Chad Pennington was just it was like watching like a one-arm guy compete. You're like, damn, he's really doing it. He's not very good, but he's out there, So, like that's what's kind of important to have it. That was a real surprise for me because I'm flying blind, so I don't know where any of your ranks are. So because like Dante Moore is one where I know in Devi drafts, like I suck at Devi because I'm always behind, and I know that like I can't get Dante Moore right now, so he's probably all right. So
yeah, I love Dante Moore. So you have moved him above Jackson Arnold, I guess, right?
Back to back in both Devi and combined. I have them 21-22 in my combined rankings too. So
yeah, I like Dante Moore a lot. Where would you have? I guess we haven't seen these guys really play, but the other two rookie quarterbacks that we're going to talk about, Nico and then
Malachi
Nelson. Yeah. Where do you think that they are going to fall once they kind of get their time to shine?
I have them both top 10 Devi quarterbacks right now. I have Malachi right behind Moore and Arnold actually in Devi. I have them 28th in combined. Lincoln Riley offense. I think Malachi has the ability to kind of command that offense next. I think he's next up, even if he's not the backup this year. And then Nico, I have down at QB 10. Actually, behind Ewers and McCord. If you want to round out my top 10, I do still think McCord's a Debbie quarterback, by the way. And ahead of Shedeur Sanders. Nico, to me, he's drawn some Justin Herbert comps. I see a player that has a ton of arm talent, and the mental stuff isn't quite there yet. Of course, he's a true freshman. He has a ton of time. I'm kind of bummed that he went to that Josh Heupel offense, though, because it's fake, and I don't think he's going to learn everything that he needs to learn. I'm bummed that that's now the stats are going to be crazy, and maybe some NFL team says, I see through this. He does have the mind, and I'm going to take him, first overall. I can see it because the tools that he has supersede, I think, probably everyone in the class. Jackson Arnold, if he was like 2 inches taller, that might be different, but I think Nico's the toolsiest guy in that class. So all of them are top 10 for me.
Yeah. I share that sentiment. I do love Nico, especially in like a C2C or a like CFF league, because I think he's going to be a QB1, like hands down, going to be like one of the top producers for the next 2 to 3 years. I speaking of like C2C, CFF, let's segue into the Bo Nixes and the Michael Penix and you, like you mentioned, Shedeur Sanders and then Jordan Travis, like all those guys, have been in college for a long time. I think Michael Penix has played against Justin Herbert quite a few times in college, and Justin Herbert's been in college been in the NFL for, is this his fourth year? 3 years? This is third year? Yeah, so he's been in the NFL for a little while.
Four. You're right.
He's been, this is his fourth year.
Yeah, I was like, he just got an extension. I was like, I think it's 4.
Yeah, it's definitely 4. Good.
Yeah, because the third years are like Mac Jones and
Fields and Lawrence.
Fields, that class. So he's a year before. Where do you, so of those guys that I mentioned, who are you highest on? Like, is it you think Bo Nix has potential to be a highly drafted quarterback in the NFL? Like, is he going maybe first round, like early second? I don't know. Like, where do you think you have him?
So he's my Debbie QB 19, and the reason he's so low, I want to be clear, Bo Nix has been really good this year, like really, really good. But the Oregon offense is as fake as the Washington offense, except it's fake in a worse way, in that Bo Nix is throwing behind the line of scrimmage. He's throwing, very schemed up stuff. I like some of the stuff that he does when he has to look downfield, but I think what Oregon did is they kind of hid some of Nix's flaws that he displayed at Auburn when he was running a more like pro style reading the field offense, and they have made him incredibly efficient. And so as I was charting him, I was like, wow, accurate. He's making every throw, but I don't know mentally if the processing is there. And so I'm concerned that NFL teams are going to stay away. He's going to be like a round 3 pick, round 2 maybe. I do think he has the best chance of the senior guys to be a first round pick for what it's worth. I don't think we get more than 4 quarterbacks this year. And if that's the case, I don't think Bo Nix is one of them.
You don't think Shedeur Sanders is a first rounder? I don't think he said he might not even leave this year. So I don't.
I have him as a 2025 guy personally. I don't think he declares. Now, if he declares, he'd be like my QB 5. Yeah. Yeah, because I'd have him behind Quinn Ewers as well. But he's one of those guys that he does process the field well, and the tools aren't necessarily all there. So that's that balance, right? I think there's one throw that Shedeur made on the final drive against USC that it was thrown with so much anticipation that the receiver almost didn't catch it. And that's good stuff. But I think if Shedeur comes out, maybe that's the 5th quarterback that we see in the first round.
Yep. I like that. Yeah. He's been somebody that I've been in on, at least for C2C in a little while, but knowing that he's going to have a question mark when it comes to NFL talent, but it's like he's putting up 40 burgers every week. So it's like, I can't pass up on him I think he was going in like the 15th, 16th round or something, so, but so we have, Vince, I don't know if you're familiar with Vince at all. He's in
Oh yeah.
the Discord. He's a very
yeah.
big Florida State guy. It's Mike Norvell, like, picture every 5 minutes. Anything that you say, it's like, there he is, dropping from a helicopter or whatever the hell he's doing. So I promised that I would ask you about Jordan Travis. Like, he's really curious as how you feel about him. And I want you to be completely honest. And I'll edit this out if it's too brutal for him, but what is your overall thought process on Jordan Travis? And what do you think do you think he gets decent DC? Like, you think we're looking at somebody that maybe has a chance in the NFL?
Yes, I think he has a chance in the NFL. And I think that if he does get an opportunity, I think he's a fantasy relevant type of guy, right? He's got the ability to be a dual threat guy. Travis is one of those weird ones where I'm like, is this real? Is anything that he is doing good? And that sounds really mean. So I'm sorry, Vince, but like, I think a lot of that offense right now is just, hey, let me throw jump balls to these giant wide receivers that can jump really high. And then you see he bounced back from it, but even against LSU, like, he's throwing jump passes out of his own end zone. And those types of decisions are like the Bo Nix decisions that made everybody clown Bo Nix. And then Travis, the problem is now, like, he's kind of hurt. I think he's still hurt. He got hurt against Boston College, and I just don't think that he's going to be healthy the rest of the year because it was actually a pretty bad injury. So I just don't see first round capital for him. Now, I think because of COVID, he might have an extra year of eligibility. So if he goes back and like has an insane Heisman level year next year, that could vault him in. But I see him more as like a day two flyer that a team takes. Like, hey, he could be a good backup for us. He runs a similar type of offense, or he can run our offense. I just don't see a first round player personally.
Yeah. So we're looking at like Hendon Hooker status, give or take. Yeah.
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 I mean,
that's actually
right.
pretty positive. That's positive, I think. You could have said Kellen Mond,
Yeah, I think Travis has a lot of talent, and I try to like sift through, like, is what he's doing what he's being asked to do, or is he just doing these things because that he doesn't know what else to do? And I think sometimes it's a little bit of both. So
yeah, I see a lot of indecisiveness in his play sometimes. And I saw that I haven't watched, like, I haven't gone deep into him quite yet, but I did watch the BC game, like, in detail, obviously, because I'm a sad BC fan. And
sorry.
Yeah, he didn't look very good against a pretty mediocre, if not awful, BC defense. So it was like, do I see him play, like, make nice plays and make good throws? Yes. But I think you're right, where it's a lot of, hey, I know that my guy's bigger than this guy. So it's just really, throwing it up and hoping for the best. The ball placement doesn't really matter that much when you're throwing to 6'7" wide receivers.
Fuck it,
so
Keon down there somewhere.
Yeah, well, that's it, man.
Honestly.
There you go. There it is. Yeah, throw it, and then most of the time, like, Keon's making the play, or it's like, hey, whatever. I'm sorry, Vince. I love you, man.
Me too. I'm sorry, Vince. We'll talk about it in the Discord.
Yeah. I feel like we covered a lot. Yeah, sorry for the technical difficulties there, but I appreciate you coming on, and I appreciate you taking your time, especially late night after, back-to-back things that you had going on for TDR and everything. And I know that you have a lot coming up. I don't know if you want to plug anything any shows that you want to plug or anything specific that you really want the people to know.
So first, thanks for having me, guys. I was telling Jagger before we started recording, I normally say no to guest appearances just because it is tough for me to fit it into my schedule. But I can't say no to you guys. I enjoy the show. You guys are doing a fantastic job. So thank you for having me. In terms of like content coming up, the Dynasty football show at Football Guys, I think, underrated Dynasty show. We need to get it into the top 50 and in the Apple Podcasts downloads and stuff. So go check that out. That releases every week on Thursday mornings at like 5 a.m. So go subscribe to that. If you want to join the WRL Patreon, I'm doing film breakdowns every week of all 22 current week from the week previous or the week prior for college football. I'm doing a JJ McCarthy one this week. I've got my plays picked out. It's a lot of fun. I think some of the patrons are, asking these types of questions, and it's been a good time. We also have our combined rankings for college and Dynasty. So I know Kevin just did a huge update to his today. So I need to go fix the consensus because he broke it. And I noticed while we were recording this, so I'll fix that tomorrow probably. But
damn it, Kevin!
Right?
Kevin's always messing everything up. And Kevin's back on his candy corn takes too, which that's the worst take in the fantasy. I can't believe it's been
industry.
a whole year since the last candy corn take from him, but it's been a year. So
yeah, it's the worst. But yeah, go check out that stuff. And as always, check out Jeff Bell's stuff at Football Guys. He's writing a ton. Kevin also has a Superflex big board going every week at Football Guys for, I think, subscribers, where he's doing a 2024 big board of, I believe, 36 rookies that gets released every week. So that's really good content if you're looking for rookie content already, getting ahead of your Dynasty league mates. That's the place to go. And then Jeff does a Dynasty roundup every Monday that is must-read content. So go check those things out. I don't have a ton of articles coming out, so I'll plug theirs.
Nice. I'm sure they appreciate that, and we appreciate you coming on. Like we said, we got all the guys from Debbie Royale on here, and that was important for me to get everyone on here because I love all you guys, and I am part of the Patreon over there in the Discord. That's really how I got connected with everybody over there, and it's very beneficial if you are in Devies or just general Dynasty leagues. It's kind of a mixed bag of everything, and there's a lot of content. I think even if you're not in Devy leagues, this stuff, learning it and getting into the whole college side of things is really beneficial for your rookie drafts. So I'd strongly suggest going in there. It's for the price of a cheap cup of coffee every month, so it's definitely worth it. Jagger, anything that you have coming up that you want to plug?
Usual silliness and nonsense. If you want start sits, come talk to me on every Sunday with Jeff and Joey. So. Yeah.
So the Dynasty Degens umbrella, we have the Devi Degens that actually dropped today, which is Tuesday. So another episode 6 dropped today, and then we are doing another fantasy show hosted by
with
Jagger.
Frank. Yeah, with
Frank. Am I right? Is that his handle?
Amaranti. I think that's his last name.
Yeah. So Frank's going to be on the show Sunday. That's 9 a.m. If you're up early enough for that, it's definitely beneficial. Get all your start sits in, and then you pretty much listen to these great guys talk matchups and who's a great play and who you should sit. And I think it's really going to help set your lineups in the morning while you're taking a dump. So, and then, like I said, next week we are doing almost like a redraft show. I think it's going to be really like present day, what's going on and what we like to see with Aaron St. Dennis is our guest next week. So should be a good show. As always, I appreciate everyone tuning in, and we will see you next week.
Yeah, the revolution, y'all. Yeah, the revolution.
The revolution, y'all, will not be televised.
Yeah, you gotta wake up, open your eyes,
Make a change in your life.
and find a new way of living.
It's time to start living for the children.
Everybody look into my life. Tell me what you see. The perseverance of a young man sitting is so free. LA Mac be the champ, but still fighting the struggle. They couldn't shut my mouth with a muzzle. I'm hard to figure like a puzzle. My name ought to be Jigsaw. Rough around the edges. I've been known to spit.